Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So first thing, I just want to apologise for the lack of content on the channel lately. I've been busy moving house and I also enrolled on the Udacity Java web developer course, so that's been taking up quite a lot of time. It's pretty tricky, not going to lie. But to get back into it, I'm going to start posting regularly again. So this is just a simple little note list app I've made, which implements this kind of modal functionality here. You can see when we click this, we get this kind of darker overlay on the screen, and we can add our note title. So we'll just say note 1 test. When we submit that, you can see we get our note title and the test note appended to our form, our table here. We can add multiple notes here. You can cancel as well. You can see we get this nice modal animation, kind of got a frosted glass effect as well here, slightly blurred background. So we'll just say, I don't know, note 2, whatever, put whatever you want. And then also we can delete notes as we go, and these are also persisted to local storage as well. So when we refresh, you can see they remain there. So do another one more. Okay, and yeah, so again, refresh, it's persisted there. If we want to remove this note 2, you can see note 2 is removed. Okay, so yeah, nice little simple project just to kick things back off again on this channel. But yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Any questions, leave me a comment below, and yeah, let's get going. Cheers, guys. Okay, guys, so to get started, we're going to create our index.html, app.js, and style.css files. See, I've got this background image here as well of leaves we're going to be using for this app. In the HTML file, just create a boilerplate. I'm going to give this a title with note list, and then we'll link to the style.css in the header, and then we'll link to this app.js file using the script source tag in the bottom of the body. Coming into the body, we're going to create a div with a class of add note. In here, we'll create an anchor tag with a class of add note as well, and the href is going to be to hashtag my modal, like so. And we're just going to say add note here. And then come underneath this div, we're going to say div modal, class of modal, and we're going to give it an ID of my modal, okay, for that href we stated above. And then in here, within this div, we're going to create another div with a class of modal content. And then in this div, we're going to say h1, class of header. And this header is going to be add note, like so. Underneath this header, we're going to say form. And this is going to have a class of note-form. Within this form, we first want to create a label, and this is going to be for the title of the note we're adding. I'm adding break lines after these as well, like so. And then here we want an input, a text input with a class of title for the note title. And then underneath this, we're going to say label, and we'll say this is going to be for the actual note. Again, add break lines after all these lines here. And then we're going to say input type of text again, and it's going to have a class of note, like so. Break line again, and then underneath this we're going to do a submit button. So if you do input type submit, like so. Okay, and then underneath here we're going to have a cancel div, so div of class of cancel. Then we'll have an anchor tag within that div with a class of cancel button, and that's href is going to be hashtag close, to close the modal down. Okay, so that's it for our form. Okay, just put the cancel in there. If we come out of this modal div now, underneath here we're going to create a table with a class of note table. In here we're going to have a tr for a table row, and then within this table row we're going to have two td cells, okay, with both of a class of header, one cell for the title and one cell for the note column. And that's pretty much it for our HTML. Okay, so it's pretty basic at the moment. Now let's style this up. Let's go into our CSS, get the global settings going. So we'll say star, margin 0, padding 0, box sizing, border box, and then that gets rid of all the margins. And then we want to get this Montserrat font link from Google Fonts, paste that in the header section, and then we also want to take the CSS rules as well and paste them in the global settings, like so. Now you can see we get this nice Montserrat font. Okay, kind of underneath this, we're going to select all the A tags next. I'm going to say text decoration equals none to get rid of all the underlining, and then also color of white for all links. Underneath this, we're going to say dot add note to select our add note button we created, position relative, and then we're going to also say background color. I want to make like a bluey color. Okay, this cadet blue, maybe a bit brighter actually. Let's make that brighter like so. And then we'll say, I think, color of the text will be black, so 000, and width of 8 rem, and we'll also say padding of 0.5 rem, and then underneath that we'll also say border radius of 5 pixels, like so, and left 10%, and top of 5%. Okay, and then we're going to do the hover for this. So if we do a colon hover, we'll just say opacity of 0.7 to make it a bit transparent when you hover, like so. Okay, so underneath this, we're going to next select the body and HTML, and we're going to give these a width of 100% and a height of 100 viewport heights, and then we give this a background as well. We want to select this image, so URL and the link to that image of the leaves we put in our directory, and a background size of cover, so it covers the browser window, and a color of white for the text. Okay, so that's looking better. So next thing we want to do here underneath this, we'll say input to select all of our text input boxes. So margin bottom, we want that to be 1 rem, and then we're going to say width of 100% for the text boxes, and then we'll also say background color, background of transparent, don't want to see any color for the input boxes, border of none, and then border bottom, we'll just say 1 pixel solid, and we'll make it white for now. But it would just be easier, I'll just make it FFF like so. Okay, and then we also want to make the color white as well for the text input, so now you can see if we input our text, it's white as well. Okay, so coming out of this, we're next going to select our H1 elements, and we're going to say position relative and text align center. Okay, just to center those in the page. And then underneath this, we're going to select our modal, and we're going to say position fixed, and we want to have top of -20%, and at the right 0%, 0, bottom 0, and left 0, so it fills the entire screen. Okay, and then we're going to have a padding of 1.5 rem, and then we want our pointer events to be none, z index of 999 to put it on top of everything, and we're going to have opacity of 0. So this is when the modal is inactive. Okay, that's why I set the pointer events to none, so the user can't click on it. Then we're going to have a border of 1 pixel solid, and we want to make that kind of a black color, 0, 0, 0, and this decimal point worked nicely, 0.192 for what we're trying to achieve. And also want a transition of 0.2 seconds for the animation and ease in. Okay, and then we're going to say border radius of 5 pixels again. And then what we're going to do underneath this, you won't see anything for now because the opacity is at 0. We're going to say modal colon target. So this is when the user clicks on the link, the button link. We're going to set the opacity to 1, and then top 0 to bring it down slightly, and then pointer events auto, so the user can now click on the modal and interact with it. And then we're going to have a background. We kind of say here just like a dark background, just to make the screen a bit darker in the background when the user opens the modal. Okay, and here we just say 0.5. So now you can see when we add note, you can see the background gets a bit darker, and we get our modal appear. And you get that slight animation downwards as well as we move the top parameter. Okay, so next we want to do the modal content. We'll set the width to 400 pixels. We'll set the position to relative, and then we'll say margin 10% auto. And then here we'll also say border 1 pixel solid. And here we'll go for another RGBA. I think we'll just use that black with a slight transparency, 0.192 again. Underneath this, we're going to say padding of 2 rem here for the actual modal content. And then we want to say border radius of 5 pixels again. And underneath that we'll say background. We want to get like a frosted glass effect here. Okay, so we'll select white. We just want to make it slightly transparent as well, so you can vaguely see the leafy background image. Like so. And then coming underneath that, we're going to say give it a blur effect as well to get that frosted glass effect. So backdrop filter blur 10 pixels. Okay, and then we're going to say color of white text as well. Okay, so that's looking better. You can see it's a slightly transparent effect there, looking good. So now we just need to center these submit and cancel buttons. So come underneath this, we're just going to say dot cancel, comma dot submit. And then here we're going to say text align center, border none, and color, we'll make that white as well. Font size, we'll give it 1 rem as well, just so it matches. And cursor pointer. Okay, that's not worked for the submit button. Okay, we need to give it a class of submit, like so. Okay, so now that's working. Great. Okay, so next thing we want to do, we're nearly done with the CSS now. So coming underneath here, we're just going to say dot note table. And here we want position relative again. And we're going to say width of 40%. And then left 10%. And then we're going to say background. We give it a dark background here. Make it a bit transparent, like so. And then also we're going to say top 10%. And then we're going to give it a border radius of 5 pixels. And let's close that down. Okay. Okay, so kind of underneath this note table, we're just going to say header, select our header elements. We're going to give this a color of, we'll take that blue color we used earlier, that light blue color. And then we're going to say padding, I want to give it a padding of about 1 rem again. And then kind of underneath the header, we're going to select our note items. These haven't been created yet, but we're going to inject these when we create our JavaScript. This is just where we insert notes into our table. So we'll give these rows a height of 2 rem, z-index of 1, and then our TD cells for the table, we're going to give them each a padding of 1 rem. And then the delete item, this is going to be another cell which we're going to enter into our table using JavaScript. We're going to give those a font size of 1.5 rem. Okay, and then our delete item hover, we just want to make it that blue color when you hover the items. Give it a cursor pointer as well. Okay, I think that's pretty much it for our CSS. Let's move on to JavaScript. So let's do our selectors now. We're going to say let modal equals document.querySelector dot modal, and then we're going to say let note form equal document.querySelector dot note hyphen form, and then we're going to say let note table equals document.querySelector dot note hyphen table, and then we're going to say let cancel equals document.querySelector, and we're going just to select that cancel button in the modal form. Okay, so next we're going to say note form.add event listener. We want to listen out for a submit event. We're going to pass that event in to the callback function, and here we just want a console.log submitted just to see that it's working. So now if we open up our console, if we click submit, nothing's happening. That's because we've got this form tag here by mistake. Just take that out, and now this should work now. See if we submit. Okay. Try this. I'm going to create an add note function, and here we're going to say e.prevent default and console.log submit pressed. Okay, so now that's working. Okay, so when we click on that add note button, it triggers this add note function. Okay, and then we're going to say let new note equals a new object, and then we're going to say let title equals document.query selector title. Okay, we want to take that title text from our form. We're going to say let note equals document.query selector dot note. Okay, and kind of underneath this, we're going to say if title.value equals blank or note.value equals blank, we're going to say return an alert to say please enter all fields, okay? Because we want both fields to be entered. Else, we're going to say new note.title equals title.value to take the value from the form for the title, and we'll do the same thing for the note as well, okay? And then we're going to say console.log new note just to show you what that returns, okay? So you can see we get our error there when we leave the note blank, and then you can see we get our object returned when we enter it into our submit form now in the console. Okay, so then we're going to say here title.value equals blank, note.value equals blank, because we want to reset the form when the user submits. As you can see now when we submit, it goes blank again. And then underneath this, we want to say, I'm going to create a note list variable up here. It's going to be an empty array because we're going to push our note forms onto this note list. I'm just going to say here note list.push new note. Okay, and then we can come under here. We can say we want to click on that cancel button so it shuts down the form as well. Then we're going to console.log the note list. Okay, so if we add it now, note 1 test note, you can see we get our array, but that form's not shut down. It should have closed down. So what's going on there? What we need to do is make this cancel - button. So now when we submit the form, it should close down, and it does, and we get our array return there. Okay, so we had another note, note 2, test 2. You can see we get our array of notes appear. So now what we need to do is append these notes to our form, okay, or our list. So we're going to create a function called append notes within this add note function. So kind of below that, we'll say function append notes. And here we're going to say let notes equal array.from, and we're going to take all of the notes on the current table, okay? So we're going to say note item, and we're going to say if notes.length is greater than 0, we're going to say notes.for each. We're going to pass in each note. We're just going to say notes.remove, okay? We want to remove all previous notes if we submit a new note, okay? Because we don't want our notes to be appended on top of each other. And then underneath that, once that's done, we're going to say we're going to map each note in our note list. And the first thing we're going to do is create table cells, okay, for each note. So we're going to say let tr for table row equals document.createElement tr. We're going to say tr.classlist equals note item, okay. And then in here we're going to say let td title for table data title equals document.createElement. I'm going to create a td cell. We're going to say td title.inner text equals note.title, okay. And then we're going to say let td note equal document.createElement td again, and this is going to do exactly the same as above, but just hold our note text, okay. And then underneath this we're going to say let td delete equal document.createElement, let's create td again, okay. And then we're going to say td delete .inner html equals, we're going to say and ampersand times, that just gives out a cross icon, okay. And then we're going to say td delete class list.add, and that's going to be a delete item class. And then underneath this we're going to append the cells to the table row that we just created, okay. So we're going to say tr.append td title. We do the same thing for the other two as well, append the td note, and we just want to do the same for the td delete as well, okay. And then finally we want to append that row to our table on our actual HTML page. So say note table.append child that table row, and then we're going to say get deleted buttons, okay, because we want to then, once this has been appended, we want our JavaScript to get all the delete buttons so we can press them, okay. And then what I'm doing here is setting local storage, the notes, to just store a string value of this JSON data, okay. So when we refresh the page, we'll always get our notes returned. Okay. So then I'm going to create another function under here that get delete buttons because we've got an error there. And here we're going to say, I need to create a global variable actually. If I come to the top of the page here, I'm just going to say let note delete buttons. Okay, and I'm also going to set this note list to json.parse local storage.getItem. We're going to pass the notes from our local storage, okay? And we're going to say if the note list is not equal to null, and then we're going to say append notes, okay? Because we're going to store all of our notes in local storage. So then we're going to say note deleted buttons in this get deleted buttons function equals array.from, and then we're going to select all the delete buttons in our table, okay? Remember we've got this delete item, and this was the class we added in the above function here, delete item. So we want to select all those into an array, and then we want to apply an event listener to each of these, okay? So we'll say note delete buttons dot for each button. We're going to say let note title equal the button dot previous sibling dot previous sibling. And you'll see why we're doing this in a second, okay? Just bear with me for the moment. And then we're going to say dot inner text, because we want to get the note title for each of the buttons, the delete buttons, okay? And then here, I'm just for now going to say console.log note title. Let's just see what happens here. There's something going on there. I'm getting the title, but okay, bear with me a second, guys. I've got a slight bug here. Oh, okay. Just going to do a button.add event listener, click, and that's going to trigger this function here. And what we want to do here is say console.log note title. Let's see what happens. Okay, so it is appearing. I am getting the note title in the console there. Oh, that needs to be td delete. Sorry, guys. That should be better now. Now you can see we're getting our note, so that is working. So what you can see here is this is a child element of this tr, and this is the previous sibling, and then it goes back 2 siblings to get the note title, and that's why we're using this previous sibling twice here. Okay, hope that makes sense. So now, if we come in this, when we have this event, click event to all of the delete items, we're going to create a function called delete note, okay? And we're going to pass in the note title. So if we create this delete note function below, which takes in the note title, we're simply going to do a for loop, iterating over the note list, and then we're going to say if note list, the iteration of the note list dot title equals the note title that we pass into the function, we want to splice or remove that note from the array, okay? So we're splicing that iteration, we're deleting one item, and then we wanted to set the local storage again for the notes, just to make it the most up-to-date version, okay? So remember, when we store in local storage, we need to stringify our object data, as it can't hold actual objects, it has to hold strings for local storage. And then we just trigger that append notes again. So now you can see it's working. We can add our notes. Let's do note 1. We'll add another note here. And you can see I'm refreshing the page and they are persisting. And there you go. Now we can delete and our note list is working. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Cheers.